In this presentation I'm going to talk about the project for the Unit IHST 8802, Emergence of Humanity in the 21st Century. The goal of the project is to investigate a local, regional or global issue from historical and futures perspectives, and in developing your project there are two questions that you might want to focus on. The first is, what is the big history of the issue? And the second, what are the possible future scenarios for the issue? And the steps that we suggest that you follow for your project are to choose an issue, problem, challenge or opportunity to investigate. Begin by exploring your own ideas about important events and periods in the history or evolution of the issue. So what do you know about the history of this issue? Gather information by searching the web, and then develop your project by creating a series of artifacts which can both help you to explore the history and possible future of the issue, and which can also serve as visual representations to include in your final product. So we're going to have a look at a series of possible artifacts, and this is also a way of helping us to understand what we mean by the historical mode of inquiry. If you're looking at history from a very broad point of view, from a very large scale, then tables or matrices are useful tools to understand and map out the changes that have occurred throughout history. And in this table here we're looking at the characteristics of historical eras and changes occurring from the Stone Age right through to the planetary phase, as it's been called, that we're currently in, and looking at the different characteristics of those phases according to the criteria of economy, organisation and communications. So tables or matrices can help to give you a very big picture of the history of an issue. Getting a little bit more closer to particular events that have unfolded, you can create timelines, and text-based timelines are very effective, very simple. This timeline shows the history of climate change, and what's interesting about it is that there are a number of different threads that are developed in the timeline. So if we look at the first period that's given there, it's looking at actual measurements that have been taken of carbon dioxide gas in the atmosphere, and so focusing on quantitative measurements or changes. But there are a number of other threads that are developed. So we have the history of scientific discoveries in relation to climate change, and we have the revolutions that have occurred and that have contributed to climate change. So the first industrial revolution, the second industrial revolution. So when you're creating timelines, you can consider different threads to develop, to give some kind of coherence to the list of events that you explore. Timelines can also be represented in a more visual way. This timeline, also connected with climate change, was connected using X timelines, which is a free tool that you can find on the internet. If you're interested in looking at quantitative changes and trends, then graphs are a very effective way to show historical changes. This one shows variations of the Earth's surface temperature. With all of these tools, you can either create your own, or you might be able to find particular artifacts on the internet and link to those, providing of course you give your own explanation of what they mean and what insights they give into the history of the issue that you're investigating. some of these tools can be brought together. So this is one that we'll be looking at a little bit later in the course. Very complicated. Some would say a little bit too complicated, but it combines graphs and timelines to map out the relationship between humans and the environment. Turning now from the past to the future and considering the possible futures of the issue that you're investigating, a good way to do this is to map out scenarios, and you could use a simple table or matrix, in this case looking at energy descent scenarios, and we have a number of distinct scenarios on the left hand side, and for each of those, according to particular criteria, this table maps out the characteristics of each of those possible scenarios related to energy, and you can create simple scenarios like this for your own project. And finally, we'll be having a look at this a little bit later, a quite complicated diagram that brings together graphs, timelines and scenarios in order to have a look at possible futures in a range of different areas. Again, this is a very complicated diagram, and of course in your own project there's no need to go to this kind of length, but this is included here just to show you the full range of tools that can be used in order to try and map out the history of an issue or of a range of different issues. In your own project, you can just settle on either using a number of tables or graphs or simple timelines, which you, as I said before, can either create yourself or find on the internet. And these can be used both to develop your project and can be actually included in your final product, which we suggest can be a series of web pages linked together in your ePortfolio, which explore the history and futures of the issue that you're investigating. And finally, a lot of the resources that we've had a look at in this presentation have been linked to this page in the free online resources in the CIHS wiki, and you might want to go there and have a look. The article, David Christian's article, Macro History, The Play of Scales, it's not intended for a general audience, it's quite academic, but it does give a good overview of the historical mode of inquiry, and that might be useful if you're interested in a little bit of background reading. So that's all for today, and good luck with your project.